Hello, good morning, class. How are you all doing? Welcome back to another session of Class Connect with Mr. K. And you watching me, welcome to another session of Class Connect. Today, we are going to treat a very interesting topic in maths called algebraic expression. Algebraic expression. So, without wasting much time, let's zoom straight to the action. All right. So, when we talk about algebraic expression, it's a very simple topic. All right. But before we start the practicality of it, let's learn these few terms in algebraic expression. After understanding, it will help us to understand the whole topic in its entirety. Now, I've written it on the board. If you can see clearly, now the first thing that we have to know is called variables. Variables. What's the meaning of variables in maths? Well, variables are when letters are used to stand for numbers. When letters are used to stand for numbers. When I mean letters, I mean the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, F. When they are used to stand for numbers in maths, you call it variables. Variables. So that's it. Now, examples are A, B, C, D, E, etc. Now, bear in mind that all these variables have invisible one in front of it. All these variables have invisible one in front of it. So for instance, when you take A, there's an invisible one in front of A. When you take B, there's an invisible one in front of B in maths and in that algebraic expression. In fact, in maths, all right, when you reach linear equation, you see all these things. Bear in mind, there's invisible one. And the invisible one is not written. Therefore, it will be error for you to write 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F, etc. That invisible one is not written. However, as a mathematician, put it in your mind that there's an invisible one in front of all the alphabet. All right. Now, the next thing you also have to do is constant. 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 When you say something is constant, I mean it doesn't change. So a variable, so a letter in which the value do not change are called constant. So we said letters which have fixed values. Letters which have fixed value, their value do not change. If it is 2 forever. So we can say that all figures in maths are constant. All figures. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are all constant. They do not change. Let's look at the example. 2 pi r square h. 2 pi r square h. So here we can clearly see that r, that is the radius, and h, which is height, changes depending on the circumstance or depending on the question. Therefore, r and h are called variables. They are called variables. They vary in their value. Now, however, 2 and pi are constant. They do not change. They do not change. So they are called constant in terms of algebraic expression. Please take note of all these terms because they'll be very useful as we advance or we progress. Now, based on this, we can therefore define that algebraic expression are, are expressions which have letters, which have symbols, and which have at least one of the mathematical operations. Okay, which have letters, which have symbols, which have at least one of the mathematical operations. Now, let's look at examples. So, when I mean the mathematical operation, I mean whether it is plus, subtraction, um, uh, difference, that is division or multiplication. You should have at least one of these variables. When you have letters combined with symbols and at least one of the operations, it is called algebraic expression. Algebraic expression. As I said, nobody will ask you what is algebraic expression, but you have to understand as a learner. Now that we know that, let's move on to another very important thing. So I'm going to clean the board. I believe by now you are done copying. So I'm going to clean the board. Then we look at a very important thing that we need to know under algebraic expression. So once we know that one too, then we can zoom straight. We can zoom straight to the addition and subtraction of algebraic expression, multiplication and division of algebraic expression. So I'm going to clean the board now. I believe you are done copying the meaning of algebraic expression, what we mean by variable, what we mean by constant, and then what we mean by algebraic expression itself. All right, so take note of that. When you see any expression that has symbol, that has letters combined, and any of the mathematical operation, any, meaning it can be one or two, please, this algebraic expression. So I think I can clean the board now. Class, I believe you're all copying. I believe you've all copied. All right. Baba, have you copied? All right. So I'm going to clean the board now. Okay. Now, let's move on to another important aspect of it called forming algebraic expressions. Forming algebraic expression, or the formation of algebraic expression. Formation of algebraic expression. Formation of algebraic expression. Formation of algebraic expression. I'll make the expression short. Good. Formation of algebraic expression. Now, for you to form algebraic expression, there are certain terms that you need to know. All right, you need to know in maths. Okay, there are certain things that you need to know in maths. So, for instance, when we say more than in maths, more than, when you see the expression more than, it simply means addition or add. It means addition or add. When you see another expression less than, it means subtraction. Less than also means subtraction. And then you also be hearing half the number. Half the number. They all have their meaning, how they are expressed in algebraic terms. Now let's look at something very, very critical. Please, if you are solving algebraic expression and an unknown number is mentioned, you have to use any variable to represent the unknown number. In other words, when, for instance, they say a certain number here, they didn't say 2, 4, 5, but they say a certain number. When that word is used as a certain number that you don't know the number, please use any variable to represent it. Any variable to represent it. Are we clear? Now we are going to look at some examples. As I said, I believe in practically when it comes to maths. So use any variable to represent any unknown quantity. So let me write that one too. Unknown quantity, or unknown number. Okay, any unknown number should be represented with a variable. Any unknown number should be represented with a variable. Any unknown number should be represented with a variable. Please, are we okay? Good. So any unknown number should be represented with a variable. So the variable can be, you can use x, but let me write my x like this to differentiate between my x and then times. You can use x, you can use y, you can use v, you can use z, you can use any alphabet, or what you call now in this state, I would say any variable to represent the unknown quantity. So you'll be hearing set terms. A number is divided by half a number, more than the number, twice the number. Please use a variable to represent it. Again, when the question is given, and then if the number is last, then the number should be written first. I know you are confused here. We start with examples. So basically, this is the short interpretation of algebraic expression. What is algebraic expression? What is a variable? What is constant? And then formation of algebraic expression. And some of the things that you have to know when you say more than or less than. All right, so I'll pause here. I don't want to rush you. Take your time and understand it. Now, in my next video, we are going to look at the practical or the proper way of forming algebraic expression. This is just the theory. I'm now going to give you some examples, and then we look at how it will be written in an algebraic expression form. I still remain Mr. K, and this is Class Connect with Mr. K. Please don't forget to subscribe. I mean, press that bell that you, when you open the when you go into YouTube, when you go into my channel, you see some bell there, press that bell. That's the meaning of subscription. Please subscribe it, and then comment. I want to see your comment, and then like and share so that others will benefit from this video. Until then, I will bring this session to an end. Watch me in my next video as I continue on the topic algebraic expression. Bye bye.